What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and welcome to my review of the Sea Sounders versus our Atlanta United. Shut up is the best I could come up with. This was such a frustrating game to watch. And I mean, for obvious reasons. You know, the finishing, the referee, Seattle. There's just such a frustrating game overall. And here's the thing. I tend to listen to 92.9 The Game after driving home from these games, because they do talk about some interesting stuff on there, and sometimes people comment in and say some stuff. I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. So I've already heard it talked to death about how oh, Seattle, how could they do this? It's the game being shown after the World Cup final. This can really be a chance for people to wake up and be like, oh, this sport is fantastic, and then they go out with these tactics to slow down the game, to make it boring, to stop momentum, which is a tactic that has been used on us before. We've seen other teams try to slow down the momentum that we have built time and time again. I can't think of a time when a team hasn't come into Mercedes-Benz and tried to slow down the game, tried to waste time. However, while I do agree that they should have... I'm not going to say, all right, oh, Seattle clearly should have come in and tried to play, because they're trying to get a result. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to at least walk out of here with a point, and that's how you do it. You slow down our momentum. You try to stop us from attacking constantly by wasting time, by rolling around, by kicking the ball away, by taking forever to take kicks. It's the referee's job to stop that. He's the one that should be managing the game. He's the one that should be controlling the game, and instead, he lets Seattle control the game. And there's my problem. That's the really frustrating thing about this game overall, is that the referee had no control of any of it. He let them do whatever they wanted. And some people may look at it and say, oh no, he did talk to him. He did tell him to hurry. Okay, if you're a parent and your kid continually breaks the rules, continually messes up at school, and you go, stop that every time they do it, but there's no punishment, are they going to stop? No. So you blowing your whistle at Stephen Fry every time he takes 20 seconds to go get the ball and set it down to kick the goal kick, you just blowing your whistle every single time and going, that's not going to do anything. Because where's his worry? Oh, he's blowing his whistle at me again? Okay. Why do I care? I'm not getting carded for it. It's so stupid. It's such a dumb thing that the referee can't look at this and say, all right, the time wasting is not the issue. It's the constantly stopping the momentum over and over and over again, and there's no punishment for it. And I know he's going to sit there and say, oh, well, I've got it on my watch, I'm at it. And that's not why people get carded for time wasting. It's not because, oh, they're taking time away from the game. No, that's not why, because you can always add it to the end of the game. The reason you card it is because they're trying to stop the momentum of the game. They are trying to waste time by taking a long break and taking time away from the game, practically taking a timeout, which is against the rules in the first place. And you're not supposed to allow that as a referee. You're not supposed to let them continually do that. So, long story short, as far as the time wasting is concerned, as far as Seattle and their tactics are concerned, I'm more frustrated with the referee for letting it get to that, for letting them do that throughout the entire game without stepping in and saying anything or doing anything. Nobody got carded for time wasting. That's ridiculous. Because there could have been at least 5 players on Seattle that could have been carded for time wasting. Number 10, I don't remember his name, so many times where he's picking up the ball and walking away with it, or he's taking forever, or he's rolling around and then he stands up and is completely fine because he's faking an injury like 3 or 4 times. I remember, obviously, Fry took forever on his goal kicks, and anytime he caught the ball, took several, at least 12 seconds on most of his goal kicks. A few other players that, number 5, I remember, kept kicking the ball away, kept, doing whatever. So, yeah, just all these little things. The referee's not doing anything about it. Really frustrating. And then, of course, we got to talk about VAR and the penalty. It's kind of hard to talk about this without also mentioning the fact that there was a VAR handball in the World Cup final. Here's the thing. VAR in the World Cup was done very well. And they've already talked about this as well. The big difference between the MLS and the World Cup, 4 people in the booth. MLS, 1 person. I wonder why VAR works so well at the World Cup. Anyway, beyond that, handballs I think are something that are going to be looked at and say, you know what, this isn't working. Because you look at the handball in the World Cup today, it's a judgment decision, honestly. And you slow it down, you look at it, yeah, anything can look like a handball if you slow it down enough. And even then, some people may look at that handball in the World Cup final and say, you know what? I mean, he didn't really see it until late. His arm is in a natural position because he's kind of jumped like this with his arms out. And so some people could look at that and say, he's not seeing it. He didn't make a motion towards it. His arms are in a natural position. No handball. Go with. He did call a goal kick, so maybe reverse that and say, okay, my bad. It was actually a corner, and we'll go with that. But that handball, for some people, is controversial. And then you look at the handball in our game, and yeah, you slow it down. Sure, that his hidden turning and it hitting here can look like a handball because you slowed it down enough. Anything can. You slow down a tackle enough, it could look like a foul, even if they completely got the ball. Because you know what? I slowed it down, and it looks like just before he got the ball, he got the player like a millisecond. Yeah, anything can be a foul, you do that. So first of all, they shouldn't be slowing it down. I think in the World Cup they made it full speed, which is a good idea. Because you shouldn't be allowed to watch it in slow-mo to see, oh, is that a foul or is that a handball? Second of all, handballs just should not be looked at again. It should be a split-second decision by the referee. He sees it. Is it a handball? Is it not? He says no or yes. Unless it's a clear and obvious error. If he doesn't call it, unless the guy has clearly made like a motion, like a Maradona situation where the referee just didn't see him and he's purposefully hit it with his hand. And if he calls it, if it didn't touch his arm at all, those should be the only times that VAR should be instituted. But for these judgment decisions, that shouldn't be an issue. It should not be, maybe you should look at that again and see maybe if you think this time it was a handball or not. Because it's a judgment-based decision. It's the same thing for Martinez's goal that was called back. The foul, the referee saw it. He made his decision on it. And then Mark Geiger was like, no, you need to look at that again. I think that was a foul. You should look at that again and really decide, is that a foul or not? Well, now it's not a judgment decision anymore. Now you've made it a VAR decision. And that's not how it should be. That's not how VAR should be implemented in games. It should not be something where the referee gets to take back a decision they made previously. It should be something for, okay, you clearly missed this. You missed the tackle. You didn't get to see something. It happened out of your line of view. Or maybe he just didn't have a good view of it. But to make these decisions where you saw it, you didn't think it was, but then the VAR says, look at it again, and this time you're like, you know what, now that I have a different angle on it, and now that I'm seeing it in slow-mo, I'm going to say this is a penalty now. For me, that's stupid. That is just, it's basically breaking the game entirely. And it's going to just harm VAR more and more and more. And honestly, that's not good, because sometimes VAR can be helpful. Sometimes it can be used for a referee who made a very bad decision to say, okay, you know what, my bad, I had a bad view of it, or something that happened behind him. Gets a chance to look at it, okay, now that I see this again, I didn't get to see this before, now I'm going to make my decision on it. But these times that it's being used for a referee to look at it again and say, oh, well, let me see it in slow motion and see if I have a different opinion this time, that's not right. And it feels like it's happening to us more than, obviously, I heard it happened, I think, in the Minnesota game yesterday. So it's not just happening to us, but it feels like it happens to us quite a lot, where these really bad decisions from VAR are coming our way against us. And it's really frustrating. So I know I talked about the referees for a long time. God, 9 minutes of talking about referees. I didn't want to talk that long about it. But, it needed to be addressed, because when you have a game like this, where it's right after the World Cup final, it's being watched, really pretty much by, I don't know if it was around the world or not, but there were a lot of people watching this. At least around our country, it comes on right after the World Cup finals. Some people may have been like, you know what, let's watch it. I heard a lot of buzz maybe about Atlanta United. Let's see what this is all about. They tune in, and this is what they get. Terrible referee decisions, watching Seattle waste time, watching the referee let it happen, watching these guys flop around after hardly being touched. That's frustrating. So, with that being said, though, from an Atlanta United standpoint, let's talk about performances today. First of all, Brad Guzan. In my opinion, nothing really to critique or say against him. He had to make, I think, a couple good saves in the first half. But for the most part, except for the penalty, I mean, Seattle didn't really create chances. They had a few moments where they looked dangerous, but for the most part, our defense shut it down pretty well, which is good to see. Then you got Franco Escobar on the right side. Um, he kind of faded in and out of this game. I don't really know how to describe it. It's almost like there are moments where he is really involved and it feels like he's doing a lot on the ball, he's doing well defensively, and then it felt like there were periods of the game where he just wasn't involved. Defensively, it felt like he was kind of out of the play, like he had stepped up and he didn't have a chance to get back, and so he's behind the play now. So I don't know, it just felt like it kind of ebbed and flowed in and out of the game overall, but I would say he's still doing well, that right back position. For me personally, I'm still not a big fan of the 4-2-3-1 formation. I think there are gaps in it. I think it does kind of leave us lacking in defense, but in the 4-2-3-1, I think Escobar plays right back probably the best out of anybody on the team. So I do like having him there. I think he does well, getting up and down the line, trying to help out. There are just moments where it feels like that getting up and down, he's not doing it in the rhythm with the rest of the team, and so he kind of ends up out of out of sync with everyone else. And so he gets up in the attack while we're trying to get back on defense, or he's dropping back and then we try to get up in the attack and look for him, he's not there. It didn't happen the entire game. There were just moments where it felt like that was going on. As far as the back two, of LGP and Michael, both of them played well today, and I was very, very impressed, especially with LGP, just because he's typically kind of a head case, and he got a really undeserved yellow card in the first half. I never really got to see the replay of it, so maybe I did miss something. But for me, it looked like he steps in front of him. The guy sees that he is clearly like stepping across him, and then just falls down. The AR completely falls for it. He's rolling around forever, and then he's up and he's taking the free kick. Clearly there's something and he's of course saying, hey, elbow. There was no elbow from what I could see. If there was, it's because LGP is like a head taller than him, and so him doing this, stepping across, is enough of an elbow because his head just happens to be at his elbow height. But I didn't see anything in that. I thought that was just good shielding. The ref decides it's a yellow card, and the LGP that has been playing most of the season typically at that point loses his head, does something stupid, goes angry into some challenges, but honestly kept his head for the rest of the night. Didn't get carded. There's some really bad decisions later on that he did argue with, but for the most part he stayed focused on playing the game, and I was truly impressed with that. Now, the one part that I did kind of get frustrated with him at times is going forward. I feel like sometimes he can get a little bit too much into the attack, because, I mean, he is a very good player on the ball, but sometimes I think he thinks he's a little too good, and so he tries to do something really crazy like dribble through 5 people or try this really ridiculous pass that goes straight to the keeper or out of bounds. But overall, I mean, based on how his season has gone, I thought for sure after that yellow card it was going to be a rough night for the rest of the time. But he kept his head and did well. And of course, Michael, leader in the back, so no problems there. Chris McCann makes his return on the left. In my opinion, not a bad game. I feel like he could have done a bit more just because I have seen him in other games be very effective on that left wing side, coming in, nice deliveries, good balls in behind. And there were a few times that he did, but overall his crossing tonight did not seem to be as strong as it has been in the past, and I did find a little bit of a problem with that. But defensively, he seemed okay, worked hard getting back. When we switched to the back three, he became the left side of that back three, which I think he also plays very well there too, so my opinion, it was a good, strong return to him for the first time starting since his injury, so good to see him back in the team for sure. Into the middle, Jeff and Julian, and, I don't think I have to even say, how Jeff did, because most of you know he's just that one solid player that pretty much always, he has solid games pretty much every single game. The only time where he's not solid is when he's just kind of not involved. And that rarely happens. Most of the time he is involved heavily. I love the fact that Michael got the golden spike and Jeff got the man of the match award because both of them were just so good tonight as far as cutting off that counterattack. Because that's all Seattle was looking for, was just pack it in, and then counterattack quickly. And Both of them did a very good job of keeping that nullified. Julian probably had one of his most, one of his worst but also best moments, I guess. I don't know. I feel like his game just sort of balances out entirely even because for every time that the chip in that led to Martinez's goal, brilliant little chip. He read the run perfectly. Nice little chip ball right on Martinez's head. Brilliant. But then how many times did he cross it to absolutely nobody? How many times at the end of the game was he at the corner and just crosses corners right to nobody? There are times his passing just completely to no one on our team. We're trying to find a pass. We're trying to find just quick little moving around, keep the defense moving, and he gives it away. Just like, God, why is he on the field? But then he works hard, wins it back. I'm like, okay, at least he did that. And then there are times when you see him, he's at the top of the box, people are yelling to shoot, he makes a good decision, makes a little pass. And then there are times when he decides, hey, I'm going to take a shot because I think I can score this for some reason, and it's right at the keeper, and then they start their counterattack. So, I don't know. He's never been one of my favorite players. Last year he was probably my least favorite player on the team. But it feels like this year, for all those games where he's been effective, he's done well at that right wing back position. Ever since he's moved in the midfield, it's like he's done okay, but I feel like there are just some moments where I'm just like, why is he out there? And then there are some moments where I'm like, he's doing okay, he's solid. So it's so back and forth for me. I don't know. I know a lot of fans love him, but I'm just somebody who's thinking we've got to get somebody else in there for him because he can't do it consistently. And then we've got, of course, the front four, our dangerous attacking four that cannot finish. God, it's so frustrating because I look at all of them, all four of them, and I can remember some really good things that they did. I think of the four, Miguel for me is still the best just because of how much he works, getting back, tracking runs, and then trying to start the play from deep, getting the ball, picking it up, and trying to find passes that'll open up the play. For Ezekiel, he does some really good things here and there. I do think he still dribbles too much, and I still think he's the weakest of the front four. But I do see the moments of promise where he does something really good, opens up the play. Sometimes his runs are very dangerous and causes the defenders to have to, track him. For Tito, he is very, very good when it comes to open space. You have him one-on-one with the defender, and you've got open space behind that defender. Tito's going to take advantage of that, and he almost always does. However, there are times when it feels like if they're packing it in, he's completely nullified. He can't do anything about that. And that's where it gets really frustrating. For Joseph, there are moments when he makes some great runs, he nearly gets on the end of crosses, or he puts himself in a dangerous position, and then there are times when he's one-on-one with the keeper in the first half, in like 15 minutes in, and he can't even get that shot on target. So it feels like all four of them, they have their good moments, they have their bad moments, but overall the main frustration is they're not finishing enough. And that's been a problem for us really for the past several games. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what changed. I think part of it is teams realized how dangerous we were on the attack, and so they just decided, you know what, we're just going to sit in and try to counterattack on them. And while that is boring for them, for those teams, they're thinking, we're just going to get a result. That's all they really want to do. And of course for us, it's like, well, crap, what do we do now? Because honestly, our best games come when a team opens up against us and tries to play, and then we pick it off and we play quickly and get it down the field and open them up and expose them. But when a team just packs it in and it's pretty much 9 guys in the box, we just don't have the ability to do anything about that. Now, can we move the ball a bit quicker up top? Probably. There are times when it feels like maybe a quick little 1-2 can open them up a bit more. Maybe keep doing that for most of the game. It'll wear them down, and then the passing becomes a bit more open. But overall, just it feels like we lack that finishing quality. We lack that last pass that can get somebody on the end of it. But really, realistically tonight, the last pass was there for the most part. How many times were we right inside the 6 and couldn't finish? Who was it? I think it was Escobar, off of a corner, heads it towards the back post. Perez is there onside, heads it onto the crossbar, and then it comes back out to Chris McCann, who just kicks it right at the keeper. I mean, how many chances like that did we have? Joseph Martinez breaks in, great run, cuts it back across, right across the 6. we have players there, and nobody can get a touch on it. Ball's bouncing around in the 6. Jeff is there. I think Perez was also there. Neither of them can get a touch on it. We bring in Romario Williams. He can't do anything, Like, cross comes right to his foot. All he's got to do is just take a good touch, and it'll probably be on target, and it'll probably be a goal because the keeper's on the other side. He whiffs, and it's moments like that that get so frustrating from a fan standpoint because we are creating such good chances. We are doing some really good stuff, but the finishing product isn't there. It's off target. It's not good enough. The cutback is good, but then the finish is not good because they're leaning back or they're trying to hit it too hard or all of this great movement, keeping them moving, and then it gets to somebody who just decides, hey, I'm going to take a shot from the top of the box, and it goes right at the keeper. So, really frustrated overall between our finishing. That's the fan side of me that's like, okay, this is what we need to do better because it's not all the rest's fault. It's not all Seattle's fault. We got to take some blame too in our finishing, but you add to that the fact that Seattle was playing so negative and the fact that the referee was letting them waste time and making bad decisions and gave them that goal out of nothing. All of that added together just makes it so frustrating. And the fact that the MLS allows stuff like that, the fact that the referees in the MLS are like this, it feels like it happens quite a bit. And honestly, that's why whenever we did first get a team, I was very hesitant to get into this, to really start watching, even though I do see the talent and even though I do see, a lot of the time why we can be very entertaining to watch, sometimes it's not fun to watch because as a fan, I'm seeing all of this crap going on and it gets really frustrating. And what's being done about it? Absolutely nothing. And that's why the MLS is never really going to be respected as a league because we have such crappy referees who will let stuff like that happen, who will make terrible calls. VAR, oh great, it's being implemented terribly. So, yeah, all in all, I'm really frustrated. Hopefully, we got game next week against DC. Our pattern recently has been terrible game, good game, terrible game, good game. This was a terrible game right after our good game against Philadelphia. Well, I should say results. Terrible result, good result, terrible result, good result. This was a terrible result. Hopefully that means this next game will be a good result if our form keeps happening like this. But at the same time, do we want our form to keep happening like this? Because, both of the New York teams are about to overtake us. Dallas has already overtaken us because we can't finish these games. And the problem is these games are at home too. Why are we not winning at home? What's going on with that? Well, a lot of it's just down to the form. We can dominate at home, but times we don't just because we can't finish. So, anyway, I'm done talking about it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this game? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe. Future Atlanta United reviews. I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.